You have one evening. So I am going to be direct about what this is and what it is not. This is not a revision video. I am not going to teach you GST or the Sendai framework tonight. If you do not know them by now, one video will not fix it. This is two things. It is a map of where the paper has actually gone for 13 years counted, 13 years counted, not remembered, not felt, counted. And it is one method that works tomorrow morning regardless of what they ask. Everything I say tonight comes off 268 questions from 2013 to 2025 across all 5 blocks. I counted every head and I am going to show you the counts. If you think a number is wrong, you can check it against the same papers I did. And I would rather you did. I'm saying this because there is a lot of material circulating right now with confident numbers in it and no source underneath. No source underneath. Some of it names reports that do not exist. Tonight, if I cannot tell you where a number came from, I will not say it. And here is the single most interesting thing in the whole count. So I will give it to you before anything else. Disaster management was asked in every single paper from 2013 to 2024. Then in 2025, not at all. Not one skipped. 12 consecutive years, not one skipped. And then in 2025 it was not asked at all. Nothing else in this corpus has an unbroken 12-year run, and nothing else has broken one. Hold that thought. I will come back to what I think it means and do what I do not think it means. The chapter number 1 is 5 blocks. Here is how the 268 split. The economy and agriculture block, 118 questions, that is 40% of the paper share. And internal security, 54 questions, 20% of share. And science and technology, 48 questions and 18% of the share. And environment, 31 questions, 12% of the share. And disaster management, 17 questions, 6% of the share. So look at the questions. Look at the questions. And now look at what the mean for how you spent your year. Economy and agriculture is nearly half of this paper, that is 44% on its own every year. If your revision tonight gives it the same hour it gives disaster management, your revision does not match the paper. And inside that 118 10 subheads counts, and the year each was last asked. Economy, planning, growth and employment, 27. And lastly asked 2025. The single largest head in the paper asked 2025. This is economy, planning, growth and employment. And then second one is crops, irrigation, marketing and e-technology. 19 questions asked so far. The last one asked 2025. Then comes to subsidies, MSP, PDS, MSP, PDS, food security, total 16 questions, lastly asked 2024. Then comes to inclusive growth, 10 questions asked till now, lastly asked 2024. Comes to infrastructure, 10 questions asked, but in lastly asked 2025, but 2 questions asked. Then comes to food processing, 9 questions asked so far. In 2025 lastly asked, but in 2025 2 questions asked. Infrastructure, 2 questions asked in 2025, and food processing asked in 2025, that is 2 questions also. Both infrastructure and food processing. And investment models asked 8 questions till now, that is lastly asked 2022. Comes to government budgeting, 7 questions asked so far, The lastly asked 2025 comes to land reform, 6 questions asked. Lastly asked 2024, and liberalization and industrial policy, that is 6 questions lastly asked 2025. So one more number, and it is one the last, and it is the one that should shape how you allocate tonight. Last year's paper broke down like this: economy and agriculture 8 questions, environment 4 questions, environment and agriculture, environment 4, science and technology 4, internal security 4, disaster management 0. So this is the way asked last year 2025. 8440, 84440. That is not a rule. It is one paper, but it is the most recent paper, and it is closer to the 13-year average than most people assume. At this point, I was going to give you the opposite of a probable list. 3 heads asked in 2025 that I would tell you to skip tonight on the grounds that this paper rarely repeats a head in consecutive years. That means do not will not asked in the sequence, but they may be asked, but this is the rarely repeats. Then I checked that again as the corpus, and the corpus does not support it. That means they may be asked, but rarely asked. Look at the consecutive runs inside the economy block alone. Economy, planning, employment, all 13 years asked in all 13 papers. And comes to crops and irrigation, 11 consecutive years from 2015 to 2025. And then government budgeting 6 consecutive times from 2016 to 2021. Comes to food processing, 4 consecutive years from 2017 to 2020, and 9 of the 10 economy subheads have repeated in back-to-back papers at some point. Exactly one never has, that is liberalization and industrial policy, never repeated back-to-back. The only one, that is liberalization and industrial policy. So back-to-back repetition is not rare in this paper. It is normal. And food processing, the head I was about to tell you to skip because it was asked twice last year, is the same head that once ran 4 papers in a row. But I am not saying they will not come, they will not ask in tomorrow's paper. They may be asked, but rarely. So I am telling you this for a reason. I made this exact mistake 3 days ago. In my essay analysis, I deprioritized globalization because it had been asked the previous year, and GS-1 then asked it for 15 marks. So I recorded that as a bad call. What I had not noticed until tonight is that the reasoning behind it was the problem, not the one instance. So there is no cold. So there is no cold list tonight. Nothing on this paper is safe to skip because it came last year. So now the other side, 4 heads where the gap is doing something unusual. 4 heads where the gap is unusual, that is achievements of Indian in science and technology and indigenization. I want to be very careful about the logic here because it is easy to overstate. A dry run does not cause a return. The UPSC is not keeping a ledger. A long gap does not make a topic due. I'm using the gap as a revision priority signal where an hour tonight is worth more than an hour elsewhere. And not a problem, and not as a probability claim. That is the whole claim, nothing stronger. The first one is achievements of Indians, science and technology, and indigenization of technology. Lastly, asked 2019, Vishweswaraya and Swaminathan, the 6 years paper dry. The 6 years paper dry lastly asked to 2019. Before that, Bose in 2018 and space science in 2016. That is the 6 consecutive papers dry, and it is the longest dry run anywhere in this corpus. From 2019 Till now they did not ask a single question. So the 6 years dry. So second one is investment models, 8 questions in 13 years. Lastly asked 2022, that is PPP, in railway station redevelopment. Three papers, three papers dry. That means 3 years did not ask single question, and it has never gone three before. The third one is security forces and agencies. Lastly asked in 2023, that is central agencies question. Three questions in 13 years. Lastly asked 2023, two papers dry. The fourth one is disaster management as a block, 12 straight years. Then escape. Let me be honest about disaster management, because this is where I could most easily mislead you. So two readings are available and I cannot tell you which is right. The first one is 2025 was anomaly in an otherwise unbroken pattern. Unbroken pattern and it returns tomorrow. And second one is 2025 was the UPSC quietly retiring a block. It has run dry. That is 17 questions in 13 years is thin. On the same ground now gets covered inside geography in GS-1 and inside environment here. I lean towards the first because 12 years is a very long habit to drop without warning. But I'm telling you, it is a lean, not a finding. Prepare it as insurance, not as a centerpiece. But I'm not saying they won't give you in tomorrow paper, but they may be give, but the chances are like insurance. So here is the practical instruction, and it is deliberately modest. Do not rebuild your preparation around four dry hits on the night before an exam. That would be wrong move, and I'm not asking for it. Give them 20 minutes each, enough to have a framework, three examples, and one line you can open with. That is all a dry head is worth tonight, and it is also all it needs, because if one of them comes, 20 minutes of structure will be 2 hours of panic. So then we are moving to the chapter number 3, that is 12 directions. What are the 12 directions? Weighted by clock size, each one printed the past questions it descends from. If you cannot see the descent, do not trust the forecast, including mine. So 12 directions, what are the directions? And I'm calling them directions, not predictions, because that is what they are. Weighted, weighted by block size, not split evenly. 5 from economy and agriculture, because the block is 44% of the paper, and 1 from disaster management, because that block is 6. Every one of them is printed on screen with the past questions is descends from. If you cannot see the descent, do not trust the forecast, including mine. And a warning I gave in the society film, and will give again, several of these are deliberately overstated. That is not carelessness. A proposition you can already agree with gives you nothing to write. The overstatement is the handle. The first one is first direction. India's employment problem is a problem of quality, not of quantity. Examine. So descends from structural unemployment question 2023 asked, growth led by labor activity asked 2022, jobless growth asked 2015, the demographic dividend asked, and employability asked 2014. So attack not of quantity, that is the handle, and the beat that marks is it examinable. The same indicator moves for opposite reasons. Participation rises when distress pushes people into any work, and it also rises when good work appears. The number alone does not tell you much. Attack not a attack not of quantity, the same indicator moves for opposite reasons. Distress and opportunity both rise participation. Then direction number 2, that is public private partnership in India has shifted from a financing instrument to a risk allocation instrument. Examine. The second direction and the second question is public private partnership in India has shifted from a financing instrument to a risk allocation instrument. Examine. These question descends from railway station PPP 2022 question, that is railway station redevelopment, concession agreements and capital formation in 2020, airports triple B's 2017, PPP transferring unsustainable liabilities to the future 2014. Pros and cons of the PPP model and 2013. This is the three paper dry head, the hybrid annuity model in highways in the cleanest illustration of the shift on the 2014 question liabilities. Pass it to future generation. Pass it to future generation is the counter case sitting inside your own corpus. Then third one, that is moving to minimum support price. Minimum support price protects crop, not the farmer. Examine. This is descends from MSP and low income trap in 2018 question and that subsidies and cropping pattern 2017 question. APMC is 2014, that is agriculture APMCs in 2014, that is Agriculture Produce Market Committees in 2014, Subsidy Distortions 2013, Subsidy Distortions 2013, WTO and Farm Subsidies 2023. The handle is that MSP is announced for many crops and procured meaningfully for few, so its effect is on what gets grown rather than on what gets earned. Then fourth one is land reform. Land reform in India has moved from redistribution to record keeping. Comment. This descends from successful implementation. 2024 land ceiling as an economic reform. 2023 land reform on small farmers. 2021 the 2013 Land Acquisition Act 2020 2014. So redistribution stalled, digitization of title advanced, whether that is retreat or different reform is the argument, and it is a real one. And the fifth one is India's welfare architecture delivers transfers efficiently and inclusion properly, inclusion poorly. Comment. India's welfare architecture delivers transfers efficiently and inclusion poorly. Comment. These are descents from public expenditure on social services in the post-reform period 2024, inclusive growth under a market economy 2022, inclusiveness and sustainability together 2019, salient features of inclusive growth 2017. So consider the transformationary first. It genuinely works. The ask what a transfer does not do. And the sixth one is India's disaster management framework has shifted from response to risk reduction on paper. Examine whether it has shifted in practice. These question descends from measures departing from the earlier reactive approach 2020, Sendai against Hyogo 2018, disaster resilience and the resilience framework 2024, vulnerability and risk assessment for an administrator 2013. This is the insurance question if DM returns. This is the shape it most likely takes because the last three DM questions, that is disaster management questions, were all framework questions rather than hazard questions. The seventh one is India's strength in science lies in application rather than in invention. Examine with reference to indigenization of technology descends from Vishweswaraya and Swaminathan 2019, Bose-Einstein statistics 2018, India's achievements in space science 2016. So six papers drive the longest run in the corpus, and notice the shape. Those three questions share. Every one of them asked about people or about national capability, not about a device. So prepare it that way. Then comes to eighth question, eighth direction, that is artificial intelligence will change India's labor market before it changes anything else. Examine. So this is descends from AI, artificial intelligence in clinical diagnosis 2023, technology in pandemic management 2020, and I am flagging this one. And two questions is a thin base, and there is no general AI question anywhere in this corpus. This is the extrapolation from the outside world, not a pattern in this paper. So treat it accordingly. So the next one and the ninth one is India's climate commitments are ambitious in mitigation and thin in adaptation. Examine. This descends from India's Paris commitments COP26 and the updated NDC 2025, outcomes of COP26 and India's commitments 2021. global warming and the Kyoto Protocol 2022. The asymmetry is real and it is the whole answer. Mitigation has targets and numbers, adaptation has plans and no comparable metric. The 10th one is environmental impact assessment in India. In India has become a clearance process rather than a assessment process. Comment. This is dissents from NGOs and activities influencing environmental impact assessment outcomes. 2024, the draft environment impact assessment notification. 2020 again is the 2006 notification asked in 2020, and the environment impact assessment and coal-fired thermal plants at pitheads asked in 2014. So note that the 2024 question asked for 4 examples with the details. If environmental impact assessment returns, be ready to name cases, not principles. The 11th one is India's internal security architecture is federal in law but central in practice. Examine. India's internal security architecture is federal in law and central in practice. Examine these questions, these decisions from Central Intelligence and Investigative Agencies 2023, the UAPA and NIA Act Amendments 2019, AFSPA, AFSPA, and the Apex Courts View 2015. The smallest head in the paper, 2 papers dry, that is 24, 25, and the formulation worth carrying. India's federal line runs between central investigation, which has been accepted, and central executive police power, which has been refused. And the 12th one, that is India's cyber posture is two stacks that meet rather than one architecture. Examine. So this is dissents from the National Cyber Security Strategy 2022, cross-border cyber attacks 2021, social media and encrypted messaging 2024, the Digital Personal Data Protection Act 2024, the civilian stack and the military stack, an answer that describes only the civilian half, describes only half. Now the sentence that has to be in this film, roughly half of tomorrow's paper will be nothing on this list. This is not a failure of the method. It is what the method predicts. Base rates and cadence tell you where the weight sits. They do not tell you what 20 specific questions will be, which is why the next chapter matters more than the last one. That is what, that is chapter number 4. I have now counted the stumps of every paper in this cycle, and there is a pattern that is worth more to you tomorrow morning than any forecast. The essay on 21st section A was 4 metaphors, section B was 4 positional claims and propositions, not topics. GS1 GS1 20 12 of 20 stems were not conventional topic prompts. 8 were declarative propositions handed over to be tested, and GS2 this afternoon 17 of 20, 8 of them direct to questions, and across all 3 papers in 60 stems, not one describe. This is a paper setting signature and it is consistent across the cycle. There is no reason to accept GS3 to be said differently tomorrow. So here is the drill. 5 moves and it works on any proposition in any of the 5 blocks. So first one is what? 5 moves. First one is what? Define the contested word. Define the contested word. Every proposition has one word doing the work, like inclusive, effective, sustainable, adequate. Find it and define it because the definition decides the answer. The second one is what? Concede the strong case, not a broken sentence. The best version of the claim. An examiner can tell the difference between a concession and a formality. And third one is what? Find the case the claim does not cover. This is where the mark is. Not, however, there are challenges, a specific situation where the proposition fails. The fourth one is what? Name the mechanism, not the list of causes, the mechanism. Why does it fail there and not elsewhere? The fifth one is say what survives. Say what survives the proposition in the form that is still defensible after you have attacked it. A list of causes, a list of causes answers the subject. A tested proposition answers the question. What are the five moves? Works on any proposition, any of the five blocks. The first one is define the contested word. Inclusive, effective, sustainable, adequate. The definition decides the answer. And the second one is consider the strong case, not a broken sentence, the best version of the claim. And third one is find the case that find the case the claim does not cover, not however there are challenges, a specific situation where it fails. And fourth one is name the mechanism, not the list of causes why it fails there and not elsewhere. The fifth one is say what survives. The proposition in the form still defensible after you have attacked it. A list of causes answers the subject. A tested proposition answers the question. One thing that is specific to this paper, GS-III rewards the concrete anchor more than any other general studies paper because everything in it is measurable. Schemes have outlays, programs have coverages, policies have dates. So the entry rule is what, enter through a principle, live through a fact, and use three anchors at most, and the discipline that goes with it, which I said the society film and mean here too. If you cannot name the source and roughly when it came out, do not put the number in the answer. A wrong figure costs you more than no figure. Four anchors you are sure of being 40, you have remember. So moving to the chapter number 5, that is three things and then stop. What is the three things? The first one is spend the largest block tonight on the largest block of the paper. Economy and agriculture is 44%, not because I predicted it, because that is where the marks live every year. So economy and agriculture is 44%, employment, MSP and marketing, inclusive growth budgeting, not because I have predicted them, because that is where the marks live every single year. The second one is 20 minutes each on the four dry heads. Indigenization, investment models, security agencies, the disaster framework, a structure, three examples, and opening line, nothing more. The third one is read the five moves once more before you sleep, and once more in the morning. It is the only thing in this film that works on a question I did not anticipate, and roughly half of tomorrow's paper will be exactly that, exactly that. And 268 questions, 12 directions, one method. Do not stay up tied. Handwriting costs more marks than one more revision gains. So good luck tomorrow. Thank you.